You know where you are!
This is Appetite for Distortion.
Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. My name is Brando, episode number 444. With me sometimes, are you staring at me? What are you looking at, buddy? Baby Brownstone is with me with his, what did you say, Niels? His Doyle Misfits.
Doyle haircut.
Yeah. And his drool. So he's like
Ah.
G.G. Allen. What rock star drools? He's a drooling baby.
So cute.
Yeah. Hoping he says his first words on the air. Axel. Velvet Chains. / Damn it. No, nothing. It's not saying anything. I wanted to start. He's not going to be here the entire time. He's overdue for a nap. But if you're joining us today, say /. Say it. He has a / doll. He is /
Yeah.
He's / we got it off Etsy. I mean, there's some really awesome things on Etsy. He has a few / onesies. You may have seen on social media when he passes out next to a bottle, like he's just a drunk baby wearing his / onesie. I took a picture. Have you ever seen the really famous / photo of him lying around, like just lying down with like a bunch of bottles around him?
I believe
That's
so.
yeah, yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
famous photo. So yeah, I just put them like next to each other. I'm like, same vibes.
Is that the one our buddy, our common friend David Plastic, I think, may have taken those, or at least the ones in the hotel room where he's lying around with some drinks and stuff.
It's possible. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not sure it took that one, but it's a pretty famous photo. But that's my good segue as my assistant Vanna White Shauna Sorensen takes him away. But that's my segue into our / review episode. And I've said I wanted to do this I don't know, for a while, because if you listen to the podcast, I did a bunch of Guns N' Roses review episodes with you, the listener, from all over the world, literally from all different countries, places, which we're going to talk about today, specifically Brazil, that I want to see Guns N' Roses and I would want to see /. And who better to give a review than the band that opened up for them 4 times during their Brazil run. So we welcome halfback kind of to the show from Velvet Chains, my buddy Niels. How are you, sir?
Yeah, how you doing? Thank you for having us. Thank you.
I love that you're rocking the Todd Damn It shirt.
Oh, dude, my boy, of course.
I love Todd Kearns because Todd Kearns was rocking a Velvet Chains shirt on stage, right?
That is correct. And he beat me to it. I was gonna do it first, and we started trying to figure out who was gonna do it first, and he didn't say anything, and boom, beat me to it.
Oh, very cool. And the guy next to him, the drummer, Jason, honestly, I'm just jealous of your hair, bro. Like, it's just like rock and roll hair, purple. It's not a mullet, is it? It's just pulled back?
No, it's just pulled back. It's
Okay.
it's supposed to be red, but you get what you get,
Oh, no, I dig it. So Niels and Jason from Velvet Chains, just thanks for coming on. You guys have been pretty busy, to say the least. So can you just kind of catch me up? Because I know Niels and we kind of DM each other every now and then, and I see what you're up to. But for those who don't know, latest single, newest, what's the latest with the band other than this current tour?
Yeah, so we just got off of this crazy tour in Brazil, which hit so many levels. We're so happy with having done this thing, and now we're out there. We're going to release a couple new songs. We're actually heading your way on Monday. We're playing Tuesday at the Bowery Electric over in the Bowery, I suppose. I've been to New York maybe once, but
Oh, really?
yeah, then we're coming back. We're doing a radio promoter show here in Vegas because we got a single on the radio. It's doing pretty well. After that, we're seeing if we're going to Europe or South America again or something in the US. Bunch of stuff, man, but it's so much fun.
Oh, man, from a kid from Vegas. And you mentioned, I know you asked me before, and we spoke off the air, but I'll say it on the air. I would love to go, but as we just saw a few minutes ago, it's hard to get out to do anything with a little baby. Somehow my wife manages to do it. They both just came back from Mexico, to see Dave
Wow.
Matthews. So he's got a. I'm so angry.
Hey, that's unfair. I think
Yeah.
if they go to Mexico to see Dave Matthews, I think you could go down the street. I don't know how far it is, but and see us.
I mean, look, I could go as well, but I don't want to go to Mexico just to see Dave Matthews. That's
I-
not something I want to go because she's that's her thing with her friend. She's been doing it for years, and they take the baby now. The last couple years, or I should say, last year she was pregnant with him. So he's just been to more Dave Matthews concerts and Guns N' Roses or Slash shows, and we got to play some catch up with that. So
We
anyway,
gotta
but
set that straight. Yeah.
Yeah.
but I digress. How long have you two known each other? Because Jason, I don't know you as well as Niels, because I got to know Niels just a little bit.
Yeah,
But
what was it? 2017, I think we met. We did a little project together, and I bowed out. I was working a lot, and then he kind of continued with kind of a different version of that project. And fast forward, he called me up one day and said, "Hey, you wanna do Velvet Chains?" And I was like, "Let's talk about it." So we went out to lunch, and he told me what he was trying to do, and I said, "Sign me up." So that was what, 2021, and October, I think, is when I came on to Velvet Chains full time.
are you in from Vegas as well?
Oh, and not originally. I'm originally from Chicago, but I've been in Vegas about 20 years. So I
Okay,
would say I'm from Vegas.
okay.
Yeah. By the way, I'm from Chile originally, born and raised, but I've been in the US for like 24 years. So yeah, I thought you said from Vegas, but I'm like, I don't know if he said that. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm from a whole different world too.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you clarified that because I know I guess you're not from Vegas. That's where you
Yeah.
you reside for quite some time. Yeah, because the way you pronounce everything is not
It's
it's not
awful.
bad. No,
It's
no, the
terrible.
way you think it's awful because to
No,
me the
dude,
way I pronounce.
when I first came to the US, I went to school in upstate New York for a couple of years in Plattsburgh, and some dude that was like the in the dorms, the dude next door was like, after a whole year, he's like, "Wait, you're not from here? I thought you just had a speech impediment." I'm like, "Holy shit."
Oh wow, that's so bad. But in a way, that's kind of if you look at it the other way, that's a compliment. It goes to show you how good your English is. Just thought
Like,
you had
I can aspire to a speech impediment
Yeah.
like that. It's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
from your perspective, I guess if you
Yeah.
want to look at it that way. But no, the way you pronounce everything is foreign countries, unlike me, it's almost like a repeat joke inside my head. I'm surprised I don't get more DMs or messages making fun of me of just how poorly I pronounce foreign names and countries. I've said this briefly before. I had a short stint as a public address announcer for youth figure skating, like 8, 9 year olds, and they're all Russian. And I would practice for days. I would practice and I'm a third Russian. So I think it's because I had a speech impediment like until like when I was young. I don't know when I
Oh
grew
wow.
out. Yeah, look at me now doing a podcast.
Yeah, no,
Unbelievable.
I married an Eastern European and I can't really pronounce her name or last name, but the kicker is my native language is Spanish, but my name is Swedish and my last name is German and I can't pronounce either of them. So I'm caught somewhere in a weird gray area.
We're all just human. That's all what really matters.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But from I guess so when did you this isn't a segue into Slash. Uh like could you fathom like I don't know if have you ever played Brazil before? Because even before this conversation, I've said it on podcasts and you talk about Rock in Rio, which I have with Max Cavalera, just to play Brazil and to play open for an icon like Slash. Can you kind of talk about how just the experience overall and how that came to be?
Yeah,
Either one of you.
we
It's this
did we
the
did
drummer can talk
play
in this one.
we played Brazil last year. We
Okay.
did a short South American run where we did Chile and Sao Paulo and Rio. So yeah, so we had played there before, and we kind of this time we knew what we were going into. We had to really put our game faces on because those fans are intense and they're very passionate about stuff. So yeah, when we heard that, you know, we got the Slash tour, I was just kind of like just sitting there thinking to myself, how did I get here, you know, in my life? And, yeah, but it was definitely a big accomplishment for us, just, you know, moving forward, and then showing up to the shows and seeing how many like friends we actually made last year when we were
Oh,
there.
cool.
Yeah, that just the support for us alone, I mean, even though it was a fraction of the people that were there to the show, but it was truly overwhelming.
And I'll add to that because last year we went out with the Winery Dogs. We did Santiago in Chile, and then we did Rio with the Winery Dogs and Stone Temple Pilots, and then we did a festival in Sao Paulo. And I'd say, yeah, we kind of knew what we were getting into, but there's a difference in the fan of the Winery Dogs and the fan of an STP. Surprisingly, I would have thought STP fans would be kind of like the Slash level intensity. But no, man, I'd 5x this or 10x this almost. With all due respect for STP and Winery Dog fans, I'm sure there were a few in both, but it was more intense. It was bigger. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm trying to, because I know it's not Guns N' Roses, but it's Slash, and they've with the Slash with Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators have just over the years to become their own thing, their own band, and have a fan base. I really am amazed with and Slash is great at this. He usually does it on Twitter or ex Twitter. Thanks all the fan clubs from around the world for how many years they've supported him. And I don't see that for any. I mean, there's a lot of Duff, but I just don't see anyone having a fan club. And it's not like he's his own. It's not like it's a fan club for Taylor Swift or something like that. He's Slash, and he has all these little fan clubs and pockets from all around the world. So, Jason, just like you, my wife is from Chicago, so I'm just trying to think of that mindset to go down there and to see those super passionate fans. So you're helping me live vicariously through you because I haven't had that
There
experience.
were a lot of top hats in the audience.
Yeah.
Like everywhere you looked, and I was like, wow.
Did you? The thing with with opening bands were how full were each shows when you would get there? Because you know how people are. They're like, "Oh, we're here to see Slash." Maybe they don't, even though you had friends and you had toured there before. You might have some people like who don't know who you are. Was it how is it when it started and before?
I think
Yeah.
look, I don't know why I was kind of expecting the same thing to just half, maybe a third of capacity. But when we started, it was almost full. And by the time we were halfway into our set, it was packed. And we were pretty well received, man. And surprisingly, because a lot of the people kept saying, even the media that would write articles about the show review, they'd say a lot of things like, wow, the opener, surprisingly, they were great. And hey, we should go and see openers and pay attention to them because Velvet Chains was so good. And yeah, it's look, and to add to what you just said, it's funny because now after last year, we actually have there's an Instagram account called Velvet Chains Brigade Brazil. And like we have a little fan account too, which feels incredible, right? So yeah, they're such passionate people, man.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's wow, what a good feeling. Just to say like you're setting the bar for opening bands, and it's not even like some people might say it as a slight. It's just literal. It's just like literal phrase. You're opening for this band. It doesn't mean you're less than. It's just you're on your way up, just like how Slash was at one. He was in an opening band
Yeah.
at one point. So it's pretty sweet to see that you guys doing so well and
And
receive so well.
it was a little bit also by design, but not in the sense, it wasn't like, hey, let's go out and put a great show for the fans, because I suppose, and I'm guilty of this, I was expecting that a lot of people wouldn't really pay attention to us because they're here to see Slash and whatever. But I was telling the guys and I said, look, we got 4 chances because it's 4 shows to just blow Slash and his camp away and make him feel hopefully that, hey, this is the best opening band we've ever had. You know, it's like in business, right? You make a sale is good, but when you get a repeat sale, that's when you really succeeded. So for
Right.
us, we went out there giving it everything we had. We left everything on stage. We ran around. It was sweat after sweat. I came off the stage. It was just everything was completely sweaty. And people, it kind of turned that I personally was trying to make sure that Slash and his camp were super happy with us. And at the same time, the people loved that. And it ended up being like a whole 360-degree thing where everybody seemed to be very happy, at least. So it worked out.
Yeah, right on. And tell me, like, did you guys get to hang out before or after? Because I see a photo of you, both of you with Todd and Brent and Frank. So how did that like photo op come about? Did you get to hang out? Because it was just it's because it's not like you're going on a full tour with them. It's 4 days, so it's not like you're on the road with them. So I'm just curious what that relationship was like.
They're all from Vegas, so having like Todd's our boy. Frank, we've been to the grand opening of his bar out here. So yeah, Todd would hang out. He would drop by our dressing room. Before we'd go on and just hang out. Yeah, so the pictures, I mean, they were always available to hang in the hotel lobbies and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's what Jason says. And also, yeah, we'd hang out a lot in the hotels, pretty close with Frank. Brent, every time we see him out there in the clubs, like, hey, what's up, homie, and stuff. And we hang out a lot with Todd. But it's like different, everybody's a little bit different, right? So I had breakfast one day with Myles Kennedy, and it's super chill, super nice guy, pleasant conversation. We spoke about export and imports. It was really cool, right? It's not what are you gonna talk about? Like, no, and he seemed really into it. And it's like, what are we talking about? Like rock and roll? No, let's talk about something different. And Slash you wouldn't really see, but the cool thing about it is that I think it's because we had a relationship with mostly the conspirators, right? And we traveled in the same flights as they did. We stayed in the same hotels as they did. And that's something that a lot of opening bands are not even told where the main act is staying or what flights they're on, because a lot of people don't know the opening bands, but we
Right.
kind of got the same treatment that maybe Mammoth or the Struts or Rose Tattoo, who they are with now, and then they'll do Europe with Mammoth and so on. So we kind of got grandfathered in, probably because of the relation that we had with these guys, the Conspirators. So it was really cool, man. They treated us great, way much more than they needed to. It was really great.
Yeah, we were treated like royalty.
Yeah.
That's what I keep saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear because you never know. Because you're right, they're opening acts. There are bands who don't even know the opening acts,
Yeah.
and it's just something the manager takes care of. And don't look this person in the eyes. It's just good that
Yeah.
you all can hang out and you're equals. I think I asked it earlier, but maybe we glossed over it. But like, how did the actual you know uh tour happen? Did you have a relationship with like Todd Kearns, and then he's like, yeah, we should get these guys the Velvet Chains on? How did it?
Yeah, no,
How did it
this
happen?
whole thing. So we've opened for Todd Kearns here in Vegas like 4 or 5 times,
Right.
right? And at some point after one of those shows, before one of the shows, Todd's wife Monique was like, "Hey, you guys are great. You guys should open for SMKC." And it's obviously something that had crossed our minds, but we're not gonna go and say, "Hey, Todd, call Slash." And like we're not those people, right? We never mentioned it or just spoke about it. And it came from Monique, and super generous and kind to even think of that. And then it took a couple of years of it wasn't like she called up Slash. No, it's just in this world it's all so complex. It's almost corporate, right? But we started kind of, our manager started talking to their manager through a third person, then our booking agent started reaching out to theirs, and it was very like different layers. And then we had worked our first single. We had Richard Fortis in there. He did all the guitars. So there were different levels where we were kind of all on the same, what do you call it? Your degrees of Kevin Bacon. What you say?
Yeah, right. The 60. Well, for us, the 6 degrees of GNR bacon, but now we got
Yeah,
the velvet bacon.
that's it.
Which sounds pretty good actually.
Yeah. And it was like that. It was a mix of different angles, and then they all magically clicked together. But it was a lot of waiting. It was very professional. It was very corporate in a sense. But I do think that also Todd, after everything checked out, after Slash had heard our stuff and said, yes, they're good to go. At some point, I know Todd also probably spoke to Slash's manager, and that it's that little extra push. I'm sure there were 20 bands out there that were just as solid or as good, or probably deserved it even more than we did. Who knows, right? But there's always that extra little, touch that helps. And it was a mix of so many things, man. But I'll give it to damn it. I'll give it
Give it to damn
Yeah.
it.
He's out for us.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I like that approach. I kind of feel similar where you get to kind of know somebody. And we can use Todd as an example because he's been so kind to me over the years as well. one time he like DM'd me his cell phone number on Instagram. I didn't ask for it, but it's hard to, I'm not gonna say to him, "Hey, can you get Slash on the podcast?" That's kind of going over a boundary and putting him in a spot. And how many people probably asks Todd also for the same kind of opportunity? And can you imagine being Slash? The amount of people who ask him for favors. So I think it's not just the music; it just shows you who you are as people. That you care about each other, and you're not out to use people. You're not just kind of snuggling up to Todd, like trying to schmooze him, and then but it just all happened organically, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, man. And I'll say I'm at a stage in my life where I just don't want to be fake or hang out with people because I want something from them. I've been fortunate enough in my life to not need to do that. And I just look, I like somebody. For me, Todd is such a great friend. He's such a nice guy, a friendly guy. And I would never ask for something like that. All I cared about is, look, we opened for him a bunch of times. We put in the work. I think he was happy with us, and whatever happens organically from there happens. But like I've told him, I'm like, hey man, we could one day become the Rolling Stones. Exaggerating, right? We probably never will, but I'm like, we're still gonna open for you, man. I don't care. Like, we will open you forever. Like, we're so thankful and grateful for him, and not just the Slash thing. It's just his friendship, and he's such a kind guy. His wife is too. It's just great people, man.
That's what you want to hear, and that's what gives you it's a pleasure to talk about bands like these, because it's not just about the music, it's about the people. But we are going to talk about the band now. So I asked this like a lot of in different interviews. So after you're done with your set, are you sticking around? Are you watching side stage? Are you going out into the crowd? Did you get to enjoy Slash with Myles Kennedy, featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators as a
Yeah,
fan?
um so after we played, go backstage, rehydrate because we sweated so much, and then immediately hit side stage, check it out. I mean, we're first night, like, I was just like standing watching Slash side stage, just like jaw on the floor, like, hey, I'm closer than first row, I'm like,
Right.
and then I was like, there were a couple of people, hanging off over the side in the crowd, and that, they were acknowledging us. So it was like, I'm hitting the crowd, and going and shaking some hands and meeting people. And it's just really overwhelming when everyone like wants to take a picture with you and stuff like that. And especially like recognizing me, because I wasn't on a drum riser. I was like on the floor all the way in the back. And, people are like, Jason, get a picture. And so yeah, I went out there. I gave out some drumsticks that, with my that I played that night. Got a bunch of pictures with people, and then they'd all just start like tagging you in their stories and stuff like that. And the next morning you're like, wow, I took a lot of pictures, met a lot of people. And so it's kind of back and forth. Then you go back and you like watch a little bit more of the show, and then you go back out, and then you go backstage and grab something to eat, whatever they had, for us in catering, like protein bar or something. Like, I haven't eaten all night. Let me, so yeah, in
That's
and out, just, trying to meet everyone that we can.
And
It's like a party, bro. It's just like it's just like a party, like going to a bar, except the bar band happens to be Slash with Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators. That's great.
Exactly.
I guess everybody's a little bit different. Like Ro, our singer, he's a little bit more like every singer out there, right? He's a little bit more introverted. Once he's on stage, right, he lets all out, and it's like, oh my God, this is such a great show. But when he's off the stage, he's a little more introverted. So he would kind of stay on the side watching the show. He also needs to make sure that he doesn't catch something because of his instrument is his voice. So he needs to make sure that he doesn't get a cold or whatever, right? So he's always a little bit on the sidelines. But that last show, though, after we finished playing that last show, we're like, okay, I don't care what we get. We could get 5 different types of COVID, but we need to go enjoy this, right? So that's when we really went all out. We spent the entire rest of the show in the crowd, just getting pulled picture after picture. Somebody was trying to rip my t-shirt off, trying to grab me for it. It was wild. That was Porto Alegre. And yeah, we met so many people. I probably caught a bunch of diseases there or something. Jason, watch out. But
yeah, and actually at that show, that was the last night of the tour, and Ro was backstage, and he goes, "Oh man, I want a T-shirt. I want to get a Slash T-shirt." And I said, "If I'm getting this much attention and people are ripping his shirt," I was like, "You'll get kidnapped, bro." I was like, "I'll go get the T-shirt for you. I've already been through it." Yeah, and he, I was like, "You will definitely just get mobbed by people."
Well,
That was fun.
that
was
is
wild.
fantastic. Oh, that's God. You guys are living my fantasy of just like having people claw at you. Although I mean, now I'm old. I want to be left alone.
Most people were really cool, but it's when one person starts, like they want a picture, and then everyone else notices, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Yeah, and it's cool not to have to do it. Back in the day in rehearsal, we would claw at each other to
yeah."
practice, but now having other people actually do it, we no longer need to. I'm joking.
Maybe not. Maybe. Uh, and the show itself, because I guess kind of like why I can't go to your show in New York City. Just I've missed every Slash show for well at those times, not for a baby, but I'm always working. GNR was always like the one time I was like organized to take off work. When I have to take off work, like my real radio job, I have to have someone cover me and someone cover them. It's a pain in the ass. And now that I work from home, I barely take off. So, but I've never gotten to see Slash, and now I need to. I need to, especially I want to take Baby Brownstone. I'm gonna hold him up like Simba, to Todd Kern.
Awesome.
I'm having fantasies about taking him to a rock show, not Dave Matthews. She didn't hear me. Uh, especially, and I don't know where you guys were at the time. I know Niels, you're a big, obviously, Guns N' Roses fan. Jason, I don't know where your fandom lies with GNR, like how deep in their catalog. But the fact that Slash was able to pull out of the set list a song that Guns N' Roses has never done, "Don't Damn Me." I mean, that's speaking of damn.
Yeah.
That's what a surprise that was. So, uh, Niels, I mean, did you have a reaction to that as just a GNR fan?
No, so yeah, I remember Todd mentioned he's like, "Hey man, we're gonna do some cool new stuff," and like obviously he can't share any details, and I'm not somebody to press him on that. So this was before the tour, and I'm like, "Dude, I can't wait," and that was all I knew about it, right? He didn't share anything else. And when I saw him on stage, just suddenly starts because he did the Mexico show first, and then I think he did Colombia, and then that's we came on after that. Brazil was after that, so I had seen him on YouTube doing that song, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what he was kind of alluding to." And
Okay.
me as a bass player, like I can do backup vocals and harmonies, but to take lead on a song like that, where the bass is doing somewhat different to what the vocals are doing, that's dude, Todd's such a pro, man. My hat off to that guy. And it sounds so great, and he does such a good job with it. So yeah, my respect, man. It came out so good.
I messaged him just to ask because he's so friendly with responding. I'm like, hey, obviously you're a bit busy right now, but if for whatever reason you have like 10 minutes, if you want to pop on the podcast just to talk about "Don't Damn Me," please. It's obviously I would love to have that. He's like, oh yeah, absolutely. It's just with the schedule. So hopefully in the future. But he said that it was ridiculously hard to play. So yeah, I was gonna ask why. So as you mentioned, as a bassist, you're explaining why. And it's just I thought maybe just vocally, why because it just begs the question, okay, if Slash wants to do it or can do it, there was a leaked sound check, I believe, from last year that he was kind of playing "Don't Damn Me" in rehearsal, but it's never been played live. Axel has never done it live, and just the fact that it just came out, it is a surprise, and I was able to see this. So this is true. It's not just like a fake set list. It was shared in, I believe, the Slash's fan group. I want to make sure I give people credit because this is Slash's fan page, run out of Mexico, which run by a great dude, and there's a fan page of it just for fans to post their own stuff. And there's a video of him getting the set list from Miles, and he going down the set list. Obviously, just now with the amount of songs in the repertoire, great set list, but they had "Don't Damn Me" in there, and it's not Slash, the guy Slash, but the actual punctuation. So this means it was an alternate. "Perfect Crime" slash "Bad Apples." So those are two other songs that Guns N' Roses don't play live. And they haven't played those yet as of this recording, but the fact that they played one of those and those other two are on there. It's just it's kind of mind blowing. What an incentive to see Slash, and I wish I could give this person credit because they mentioned this idea that maybe he's just kind of working out the kinks to play this song with Guns N' Roses on the next few. So I don't know. Just as a and Jason, feel free to chime in. I don't know you're how diehard if you're a nerd like me, and Neil's here with GNR, but
Probably not to that extent.
okay, so
Definitely not. I mean, trust me, I probably had a poster of GNR on my wall before you guys did, but yeah, you guys take it to a whole other level. I'm a casual fan. Like,
it started out that way. It started out casual. Then 7 years later, I'm doing a podcast with 400 episodes, calling my son Baby Brownstone. I don't know how it happened, but just as like as fans talking back and forth. I mean, Niels, was that? I mean, how cool was that?
Yeah, no, look, I wish they had played the other two also, and that just goes to say how brilliant Slash is about bringing out songs that, I mean, everybody wants to go see him, but then you get the extra icing on the cake or the cherry on the cake, right? That's how he keeps people engaged and surprised and talking about him. And there's so much to learn from that. I love it. Like, he doesn't need to do any of that, right? He can play the same songs over and over if he wanted to. Heck, he could just be a Guns N' Roses cover band if he wanted to, right? When they first started, they would do GNR covers. But at the end of the day, it goes to show how professional the guy is and how much he loves what he does and how he always wants to do more. And then now they don't play any GNR stuff unless Gilby pops on stage. I think they did Night Train, right? Or this Don't Damn Me, but that's not just a GNR song. It's like almost like a B-side or like a right deep into the catalog.
Right.
So no, it's just my respect how brilliant the guy is and somebody to look up to, man. I love it. And me as a diehard GNR fan, like you mentioned, yeah, that was just epic, man. Epic experience. Yeah.
Todd did fantastic. I mean, what a second in command to have on vocals there. Like he really complements what doing Dr. Alibi, of course, the Lemmy song. It's just a very cool. That's what it makes a band where everyone. I would look at that like just like it was radio or anything in my life. Things are like a baseball team where everyone has their own position, and some might excel at certain things, or have certain talents or skills, but everyone has their role and they fit together to create this kind of awesome cohesive unit. And that's what SKMC has definitely become, and that's what Velvet Chains has become as well. But you alluded to it before. Unfortunately, it was not one of the shows that you opened. Bill Gilby Clarke did open a couple shows, so I guess it was to be expected that he would join Slash on stage. So were you, I don't know, were you like kind of bummed that you didn't experience that? That like, I don't know, that you didn't open up for Gilby and Slash, that is to see that, or just as a fan, you just thought that like, wow, here's something else Slash managed to do that Guns N' Roses hasn't done.
Look, I'll jump in on that one. It's we would have loved to do the other countries too with Gilby, right? And open for Gilby and open for Slash and do all that. I know that, for example, Chile, Argentina, they have certain requirements where they need to have a national opener that meets the law says that the first opener. So I think in Chile they had a DJ to kind of open it, so that counts. And then in Argentina, I think they had like 3 or 4 bands or whatever it was, right? But so we wouldn't have worked out because Gilby was there, but we did open for Gilby Clarke about a year ago here in Vegas. So at least we got to do that. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, how was let's talk about that experience. How's Gilby's been on the show? Very nice guy. How was just kind of what's it called working with him? How was working with Gilby?
Yeah, I didn't get to meet Gilby that night. It was at one of the it was a newer venue here at one of the casinos, and of course, being a hometown thing, I had to like load in my own gear and stuff like that. And you're double parked, and I have no idea where the venue is. And I got all my drums on a cart, and I'm like wheeling it through the casino, like looking around. Like they don't tell you much. So that night was super hectic for me. Did you get to meet Gilby that night?
I didn't. I saw him pass by, but he was surrounded by a big group of friends. I remembered I met a lot of his friends and they were saying, yeah, it was like a big party. Everybody that was, not everybody obviously, but there's a big group of people that were there that were out to hang with him. So I think he was busy with his homies he hadn't seen in a while. People flew in. So we didn't get to hang with the guy. But Gilby Clarke, man, it was a blast and we're super happy to have done it. And yeah, we do it again anytime.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And refresh my memory, Niels, we may have, and Jason, I don't know if you had the experience too. I don't know if we spoke about this when you were on. I mean, it's been a few years. I'm lucky I remember yesterday. Did you talk about the experience with Richard Fortus and working with him and the song that you guys did together?
I think that so that was before Jason joined the band. I
Okay.
believe we did speak about it a little bit. I'm happy to jump into that if you'd like. But yeah,
Yeah, just as a refresher, since I clearly need one.
yeah. So that happened through man. We're so close to that 6 degrees thing. It's so wild. So that happened because our good friend Mike Squires, obviously, we're really close with Mike. In fact, we were trying to get him to be our tour manager on this last thing, but he's so busy with Ugly Kid Joe. And
Yeah.
initially he was like, let's do it. And then we spoke and he's like, man, I'm sorry. I got to back out because I got Ugly Kid Joe. He's got a bunch of stuff. He had the Duff dates also, I think, too close to each other.
Right.
So, but years ago, so we're talking to him and we were a new band. We were just doing originals, just had started to do originals at the time. And we're like, hey man, we're looking for somebody that we could do a feature with or collab or whatever. And he suggested a bunch of guys, and one of them was Richard Fortus. And I'm like, yeah, that one, right?
That
It's
one.
total virtuoso, right? And with in G and R and so on. So he put us in touch with him and we went back and forth. We sent him the song, he dug it, and then he recorded all the guitars for Tattooed, which you can find on streaming and so on. It's one of our older songs of 2021, I think, which three years now is an old long time. It's another
Deep in the catalog.
Yeah. But it was great, man. He's spoken by email a couple of times since, and he's just a stand-up guy. He's a great guy, and just I remember the first time that I received the file with his contribution. I had no idea what it was going to sound like, and I just listened to it, and I'm like, holy crap! Like he was probably, I'm thinking, man, this sounds like some virtuoso next level maestro thing that he must have done being extremely inspired. And I'm talking to Squires about this, and he's like, man, he probably was half asleep with it was late at night. He probably just that's who he is. He'll like bust something incredible like it's his second nature. And Mike's telling me, he's like, man, that would have taken me, how many tries to get that down? I would have to be super. And he's exaggerating. He's a great guitar player, Mike, right? But yeah, it's just the level of somebody like Ford is wild, and he can bust out something. The solo on that song is incredible, and yeah, it just came out like nothing. So now super happy.
Right on. And yeah, Mike is great. I mean, he does the theme of this podcast, and he just kind of did on I'm like, I sometimes I forget that he did that entire piece of music. I thought maybe he just did the guitar. He did everything for me out of the kindness of his heart after being on the show. And I think this was before, during slower times. He was charging people for theme music or whatever for a podcast, and he just did mine just to
That's nice.
just to be a cool guy, and I
Yeah.
really do appreciate that. And something I want to mention, I guess as a musician and as a Slash fan, how interesting was it to see him play? Was it the steel pedal guitar during Rocket Man? It's that I'm going to poorly explain it. Just that guitar where
The
you're
lap
sitting
steel.
down. The,
Yeah,
the
the lap steel guitar.
the lap steel. Okay. Because
Yeah, they would one of the benefits of not having a drum tech on this tour was I had to stage my own drums like off side stage. And of course I would do it while they were sound checking. So while they're all having a good time hanging out backstage, I'm working, but the benefit of it was to be able to like witness all of the sound check. I mean, from side stage or backstage, wherever I wasn't just out in the audience like
right.
oh, let me get a
Yeah,
no,
right.
but I was staging my drums, and they warmed up with that every night during sound check. And
Okay.
then and then to see it live, I mean, it's pretty impressive. I don't think that's very easy to play.
Before I get to that, let me just give you and all drummers just your flowers of just what you have to deal with your equipment. Like to get in, to get out. I mean, come on, Niels. You just got a little bass. Come on, you're what a wimp. I mean, it's I can't. I can't even imagine, bro. That's that's a lot.
And
So
I had a guitar tech with me too. So
drummers, you'll get your respect one day.
yeah.
So, but to go back, so you call it, I guess, what do I know? I'm not a musician. I say steel pedal because I think it was last year, I interviewed Skunk Baxter on the show as I have like alarms going off on my computer from the Doobie Brothers. And it just came up organically as I was trying to find a 6 degrees of GNR Bacon with him. I know he's performed with Slash, so I was just going to ask him about that. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually currently teaching him how to play steel pedal guitar."
Wow.
And he's like, "Slash could do it, you know. It's very hard to learn, but he can learn anything." And that interview came and went like a year and a half ago. Next thing, then all of a sudden, Slash debuts it on this tour, and it's like, wow, I found out how he learned that on this podcast. So I'm like sharing that piece of. So it's I don't know. I was proud of myself to find out some new information on this podcast. I like when that kind of happens. I don't know.
Super. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like super good for you, buddy. So
I'm a
what?
bass player. I know nothing about those fancy instruments, man.
I
That's
don't
it.
either. It was just something because you just picture Slash as with the Gibson. That's the iconic look, but just as you hear that he's always practicing and he's always working and he's always touring, obviously, but he's teaching himself a new instrument, a harder instrument. Like he doesn't need to do that, but he's constantly challenging himself. So it's impressive. It's who was I guess recently interviewed that just said the same thing about Gus G when he did the Slash and Friends. It's just saying like his work ethic is just very impressive. So just another chance to bring that up. That's all.
Yeah, and it was
That's
yeah, no, it was cool to see that in action too, because when they would sound check, I think they had like an hour 15 to sound check, and they would be on time for sound check and they would stop at the hour 15, maybe go even 5-10 minutes longer if they needed to. But a couple things from that is they were playing every other day. Like we were with them, we were opening for them, and they were still running a full hour, 15-minute sound check, right? And granted, our set is way shorter, so we needed, our half hour, 45 minutes, whatever, when there were some quirks that weren't working. But the guy will go the entire time. And also to add to that, how respectful they were, and they didn't need to be to the opener, because after their sound check was our sound check, and then after that venue opened and you couldn't be playing anymore. So they would stop right on dot, maybe go 5 minutes extra, which is nothing, right? Who cares about that? But a lot of big bands, they'll just like, screw the opener, we'll just keep going and they'll get 5 minutes. So no, they're so respectful. It's such an incredible work ethic.
Right on. So what's the next for you guys? What's next for Velvet Chains?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out. We're cooking up a couple things. Obviously, wish we could give all the details of what we're
a lot
working
of irons
on.
in the fire.
A lot of irons in the fire. That's
Sure.
right. But yeah, we can't, for two reasons. One, knock on wood, we don't want to jinx it if we say anything. But no, we're looking at some European things. We're looking at some US dates. We want to get back to South America real quick. We don't want to lose momentum there because we have a we're building a big audience especially in Brazil. So we want to, jump on that. But we're releasing new music coming up soon and just enjoying the ride, man. It's been such a blast.
That's something I'm just now learning. I mean, I'm 40, so I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's enjoying the ride. Just enjoy the ride, and you can.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to enjoy life. Like I'm enjoying this. Talking to you guys right now, baby in the background. I mean, this is just talking about rock and roll. What's not to enjoy right now?
And I'll give you a good one. Like, for example, for me, like when I first started doing this, I'm like, hey man, one day I hope to open for Slash. That's a dream, something like, big thing we could do one day. And then boom, fast forward, it happens, right? And now like I find myself flying on the plane back from Brazil and thinking, okay, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? What's the next step, right? But then I remind myself, it's like it's about the journey, man. Because once you
Yes.
get to the destination, nothing
It's all
magical happens. You feel great, you did it, but it's a fleeting thing, right? Because then it's like, I need that next hit, man.
Yeah.
And it's like that you could go on forever and never enjoy the journey because the destination is such an elusive thing. So yeah, man, I love that you said that because it's so important to enjoy the moment.
What's the Aerosmith lyric? Life's a journey, not a destination, right? Yeah,
That's it, yeah.
it's simple, but it's absolutely true. I'm gonna put the links in the bio, but velvetchains.com, and you're on Instagram, X, Twitter, Facebook, all the social Friendster, MySpace, on all on all the socials.
Don't forget Twitter or Grinder.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, our singer would say that. Yeah, yeah. Hit us up
Farmersonly.com.
That's good.
Hey, Brando,
Christian Mingle.
I do want to say something, man. I really want to thank you for one, the support that you've given us, but for what you do, because thanks to this podcast, one, as a GNR fan, I've learned so much about the GNR diaspora, but at the same time, so much of what I've learned from you and your guests, I've been able to apply to the band, and we've ended up meeting some incredible people. And a lot of the times I know how to talk to them or what to say based on what I've learned from listening to so many podcasts you've done, man. So what you do is not just for people that like GNR, not just for people who
Right.
enjoy a podcast. It's really being practical stuff that we've been able to apply and get us to do incredible things like this, man. So thank you for what you do, man. Really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Niels. And I hope I don't blow up your spot. Don't worry, I'm not going to give the amount, but thank you for your wedding present. That was like, a year and a half ago. So that was very kind of you. Did
Oh,
not
dude, no, yeah, my pleasure, man. Well deserved. Yeah, my pleasure.
so thank you. Thank you, Jason. Really a pleasure to meet you. Believe me, if something changes, Niels, I'll let you know if I can attend the show, but next thing on my docket, I had a plan already for this. Again, for freaking Dave Matthews. But I have to go because we're going to London.
Nice.
I've never been. So you've been all over the world. I've never been across the pond.
Wow.
But she's going by herself. I'm going to be back at the hotel with the baby, just watching,
Okay.
whatever's on TV, Doctor Who, whatever they play over there in London, on Mr. B. I don't know. I'm already making this stupid. I'm such an obnoxious American. At least I know it. And anyway, so that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. What's next? Well, I can tell you. Next up, because I'm going to be interviewing this guy in about an hour. Well, I guess you never know. Knock on wood, people cancel. But Courtney Taylor from the Dandy Warhols, of course, have a new single out with Slash, and Roger Stevens, guitarist from Blind Melon. So those hopefully will be a couple guests coming up. Other than that, just I always say the conversation continues in between the broadcasts. I'm on all the social media platforms as well. That's how you can participate, ask questions to upcoming guests, and hopefully soon a new website. A website. I shouldn't even say a new website. A website. I've never had one before. Working on it in the background. So until then, when will you see all these things? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.